Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a beautifully chaotic, and we have an absolute mountain of psychological twists and deeply buried secrets to unpack together right now. Grab a seat and brace yourselves, because what we are about to discuss is going to completely change how you view everything that just happened on screen. Let us dive right into the heart of this storm. I am watching Ted and Shanice finally finding some time for romance, and on the surface, it looks like this beautiful, healing moment, right? Keith D. Robinson and Ernestine Johnson are sharing the screen. The chemistry is undeniably there, the lighting is soft, and it feels like a well-deserved exhale. Ted has spent literally every waking second agonizing over his two daughters. The tornado aftermath was an absolute nightmare, ripping his world apart, leaving Eva needing a liver transplant and Cot being the one to donate it. They were both fighting for their lives in that sterile, terrifying hospital environment, and now they are finally home and recovering. So, Ted and Shanice getting together to heal their relationship should be a good thing. But as I am watching them, I am suddenly realizing something scary. The silence between them isn't peaceful, it is suffocating. It is heavy with all the things Ted is absolutely refusing to say out loud. Look at the way Ted is behaving. Is he truly ready to open his heart to Shanice, or is he just fundamentally trapped in this paralyzing fear of losing the people he loves? I mean, think about the psychological toll of watching your children bleed out, essentially. Watching one daughter be cut open to save the other. That is a blood debt that will permanently alter the family dynamic, and Ted knows this. He has to know this. Wait, what if that character knew everything from the beginning? And by everything, I mean the inevitable psychological collapse of his family unit. What if Ted knew that Cot would harbor some deep, dark, hidden resentment toward Eva for taking a literal piece of her body? What if he knew that Eva would be crushed by the guilt of surviving at her sister's expense? Ted is a father. He is supposed to protect them, but he couldn't protect them from the tornado, and he certainly can't protect them from each other now. When you watch the camera angles in that living room scene with Shanice, there is this persistent shadow cast over half of Ted's face. It is a classic visual symbolism for a fractured identity. He is projecting this image of a man ready to move on, ready to embrace love, but the other half of him is still trapped in that hospital waiting room, listening to the agonizing beep of the heart monitors. Hold on, nobody reacts normally in this movie. I mean, in this show, or whatever reality they are currently trapped in. Normal people do not just seamlessly transition from the near death of their children into a romantic, candlelit evening. There is a frantic, almost manic energy to Ted's pursuit of this romance right now. It feels less like a new beginning and more like he is desperately grabbing onto a life raft because he is drowning in his own inadequacy. I just realized a small detail, but it makes things much scarier. Did you notice the way Ted touched Shanice's hand? It wasn't a gentle, romantic caress. His grip was tight, almost white-knuckled, like a man clinging to the edge of a cliff. He isn't looking into her eyes to find love. He is looking into her eyes to avoid looking at the closed doors of his daughter's bedrooms. He is terrified of what is happening behind those doors. He is terrified of the physical and emotional scars that he is completely powerless to heal. So, he turns to Shanice. But is this a genuine attempt to heal? Or is it just a deeply selfish way for him to momentarily forget his overwhelming guilt? Okay, no, this isn't a coincidence anymore. The timing of this romantic reunion is incredibly suspicious. The daughters just got home. They are in the most vulnerable stage of their physical recovery, and Ted is suddenly carving out us time with Shanice. That feels like a deliberate emotional manipulation, not just of Shanice, but of himself. He is orchestrating this romance to build a fortress around his own fragile psyche. He is using Shanice as a crutch, a human shield against the storm of mental anguish that is waiting to consume him. And Shanice, bless her, seems to be falling right into this trap. Or is she? Maybe that doesn't matter, but I noticed a flicker of hesitation in Ernestine Johnson's performance. A micro-expression of doubt. Does Shanice know she is being used as an emotional bandage? The more I think about it, the more it seems like everything is orchestrated. Think about the tornado itself. Obviously, Ted didn't cause the weather, but the aftermath. The way he isolated himself, the way he hovered over the girls, and now the way he is abruptly shifting his focus. It is a textbook trauma response, but it is also highly manipulative. He is setting up a scenario where if things go wrong with the girls, he has Shanice to fall back on. But if things go wrong with Shanice, he can blame his trauma. It is a zero-sum game of emotional survival. He is creating a dynamic where he cannot be held accountable for his emotional unavailability because, hey, look at what he just went through. Let us delve into the actual transplant for a second. Kat donated her liver to Eva. That is a profound act of love, but it is also a profound violation of physical boundaries dictated by sheer desperation. Ted had to sign off on this, mentally if not literally. He had to agree to sacrifice one daughter's physical integrity to save the other. Can you imagine the guilt, the sheer, unadulterated self-hatred that must be boiling inside him? He couldn't protect them from the storm, so he let them carve each other up to survive. And now he is sitting on a couch, sipping wine with Shanice, pretending that the universe hasn't fundamentally broken him. It is absolute madness. But that doesn't explain why Shanice is so willing to step into this minefield. Is she blinded by her own feelings, or does she have some hidden resentment of her own? Maybe she resents the fact that Ted's life will always be dominated by his daughter's trauma. Maybe she is trying to stake her claim now, while he is weak and malleable. Okay, I know I just said the opposite, but listen to me. What if Shanice is the one manipulating the situation? What if she sees the fractured state of Ted's mind and realizes that this is her absolute best chance to solidify her place in his life? The girls are bedridden, recovering. They can't run interference. They can't demand his attention the way they normally would. The field is clear for Shanice to swoop in and become the indispensable savior. I think episode 45 or whatever the latest episode number is, please forgive my frantic brain, is really about the illusion of safety. They survived the tornado. They survived the surgeries. They are back in the house. The physical danger is supposedly over, but the psychological danger is just beginning. The house is a pressure cooker of unspoken trauma, guilt, and physical pain. And right in the middle of it, Ted and Shanice are trying to force a romantic narrative. It is like trying to plant flowers in a radioactive crater. It is not going to work, and the fallout is going to be spectacular. Look at the recurring objects in the background. The medical supplies, the pill bottles on the counter. They are constant, mocking reminders of Ted's failure. Every time he looks at Shanice, he's trying to look away from those bottles. He is trying to look away from his own reflection. This isn't about love. This is about identity. Ted's identity as the strong, capable father was completely obliterated by the tornado. He was rendered entirely helpless. So now he is desperately trying to construct a new identity as a romantic partner, because that is a narrative he thinks he can control. He can't control a storm. He can't control liver failure, but he can control a date night. He can control the lighting, the conversation, the physical proximity to Shanice. It is an exercise in reclaiming power, not an exercise in vulnerability. But what happens when the illusion shatters? Because it will. It absolutely will. Ted is going to have to face his true feelings eventually. He is going to have to face the fact that he is terrified of his own daughters now. He is terrified of the fragility of their lives. He is terrified that he will wake up one morning and one of them won't be breathing. You can't love someone purely, deeply, and honestly when your entire central nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode. Ted is living in a constant state of impending doom. The peace between him and Shanice is nothing more than the eye of the hurricane. It is that brief, deceptive moment of stillness before the back half of the storm rips the roof off. Are we supposed to believe he is choosing happiness over duty? Because it looks to me like he is choosing denial over reality. He doesn't have the courage to face his true feelings. If he did, he would be sitting by his daughter's bedsides, talking to them, crying with them, processing the horrific trauma they all just endured. Instead, he is retreating into this romantic fantasy with Shanice. It is a form of emotional abandonment. He is physically present in the house, but mentally, he is fleeing the scene of the accident. And what about the revenge aspect? I know it sounds crazy, but think about the subconscious mind. Ted might subconsciously resent his daughters for making him feel so helpless. He might resent the universe for targeting his family. And when people harbor that kind of deep, unexpressed resentment, it inevitably leaks out in toxic ways. What if this romance with Shanice is a subconscious act of revenge against his own family? A way of saying, you broke my heart, you terrified me, so I am going to invest my emotional energy elsewhere. It sounds incredibly dark, but grief and trauma do horrific things to the human mind. I mean, roughly, it feels like we are watching a man slowly dismantle his own life while smiling through it. Something about his posture, something about the prolonged silences in their dialogue, just screams that this is a prelude to a massive emotional breakdown. I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels like the writers are setting us up for a devastating betrayal. Not a betrayal of infidelity, but a betrayal of trust. Ted is going to break down, and when he does, he is going to take Shanice down with him. He is going to realize that she cannot fix him, that her love cannot erase the memory of the tornado, and he is going to turn on her. He will blame her for distracting him, for making him think he could be happy when his daughters are literally stitched together with surgical thread. This isn't a new beginning. It is a beautifully disguised trap. Ted is walking right into it, and he is dragging Shanice along for the ride. The scars from the tornado and the transplant haven't even begun to heal. They have just been covered up with a very thin, very fragile bandage of forced romance. And the second one of those girls cries out in pain, the second the reality of their situation pierces through this romantic bubble, that bandage is going to rip right off. Ted will be forced to choose between continuing to live for his duties as a traumatized father or allowing himself to completely shatter in Shanice's arms. But honestly, I don't think he has the strength for either. He is entirely hollowed out, running on the fumes of a life that no longer exists, desperately pretending that the wind isn't still howling just outside the gate.